Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Leasing Highway, a podcast focused on the heartbeat of the apartment industry. And this year, presented by the Apartment Association of Metro Denver. So we're super excited to have them as a partner. I'm Ian Andrews.
And I'm Karen Gladney, and today we are joined by and get to feature Heather Sandoval, Senior Director of Asset Management for Greystar. And Heather, we're so happy to have you here today. And thank you for joining us. And we just thought we'd kick it to you to just tell your story, how you got into the industry and that background, because that's such a neat to share with everybody.
Well, thank you. And thanks so much for the invite. I get to hang out with the cool kids for the next 30 minutes. This is such an honor. And I love this story because it's my favorite story of, how I got into the industry and because it's just been such a great experience and such a amazing career path. And if you flash back 21 years ago now, I actually worked for a company called Fairfield. I'm sure you've all heard of it. But I worked as an administrative assistant in the development and construction office. And I worked for the development lead and the acquisitions officer. And I was like really good at doing expense reports and filing and currying. Like I was constantly like in the car driving plans to the city department. And when I was really good at it. I was also really good at navigating a copy machine, like the best of them. But I remember there was, some ladies and gentlemen that worked in the property management division that were in the front of our offices. And they were always kind of loud and like laughing all the time and just generally like seeming like they were having a lot of fun. And I was in the back with the copy machine and I was like, they're having like so much fun, like whatever. But I was like, this is kind of more me. They're kind of more my personality and what I gravitate towards. And so after a couple of years, we had an opportunity where I could go work on the weekends as a leasing associate. They needed some help. And so I was like, let me just try it. And the first day I learned how to blow up balloons and make cookies. And they gave me the keys to the model and they gave me an availability. So I know what apartments were available and what the pricing was. Boom. And I was there. I was like off on my own.
History was made.
I was trained really well right away, but I got it. Like my first tour, he ended up leasing and I was like, I'm clearly a natural. And so, after a few weekends of just playing around and doing that on the weekends, I was like, I think this is something I want to do. I want to transfer over. And so I ended up being hired on to one of the lease ups that they were working on. And I remember the interview process was kind of difficult because they're like, hey, listen, you have no leasing experience or limited for us on the weekends. And you're going on to a lease up and that's never heard of that we're going to put you on one of these deals. But they ended up, letting me go out there. I ended up staying at that property for 4 years.
Wow.
Loved it, leased it up. And I was the assistant manager for the bulk of the time, which was the best position in the world because you had a lot of, some responsibility, but you weren't that person that was, on call 24/7, if you will. I didn't know what I had until I didn't have it anymore. But anyways, just kind of, went through a lot of the different roles on site and ended up wanting to make a change from that property. And I went and experimented with being on the vendor side. And I made it 6 months because what you all do on the vendor side, it's tough. And I learned a lot from that. Mostly my biggest takeaway was like, be lovely to those people coming in. It's hard to be that person walking in that door doing, cold calls and that kind of thing. We're lucky from the property management. Like you're walking in our doors, you likely need an apartment home. Right. The opposite side, do you need to advertise in my print publication? I don't know. But after about 6 months, I was like, ooh, I've got to get back into property management. And that's when I found Greystar through Lynette Brockman, actually. I had never even heard of the company. I was like, who's this Greystar? Like they have 7 properties here. They had maybe 20,000 units nationwide. And I was like, I don't know. It seems risky, this small unknown company. I'll go ahead and do it. And, I spent about 9 months as a community manager with Greystar. And then moved into like an assistant regional manager role. And, like I said, we had 7 properties at the time, and Sherry Shaw and Brandon Rich. And it was just kind of really the 3 of us in the office. And we just grew the business from there. And, many, many years later, I was running all of new construction for the mountain region. So anything that was under construction with our third-party clients or even our owned assets, I got to touch and help build a team to, work on those deals. And so, grew the region. I mean, now it's like we've got a ton of properties. I should have gotten my numbers straight before getting on the call, but it's well over like 120 properties, something like that, just even here. So from 7 to that, but it, over about 15, 16 years of time. But it's been a really exciting ride. And then I guess quickly, about 2 years ago, I took on a really fun opportunity. I left Greystar for, again, just a minute. And I went and worked with a fantastic team with a company called Daydream that's, doing something quite different and remarkable. They've also just recently rebranded. Now they're Central. But, check them out. It's pretty cool. So I went over there, helped them open their property management company. But, you build relationships over time, and, you just have been with the same people and the same culture for such a long time. You miss that. And so came back to Greystar at the end of 2019, but now on the asset management side. So officially I work for the development and construction company today, and I oversee the asset management for our owned development assets here in Mountain and then all in the West Coast. So I get to talk to a lot of people in California and Seattle, and I'm headed to Portland this week to see the teams up there. So yes, just so exciting and such a great opportunity now that I get to see the asset management side. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'm learning so much every single day sitting on this side and looking at this from this perspective. Real estate from this perspective, it's wildly different than from on the property management side.
It's really cool how many roles you've had, Heather. I mean, and you've been bold and brave to switch. That's not easy to do, to push your limits, so to speak, and go to something that you don't know when you were so good at something else. And that's so impressive to see. And that you've sat in all these different seats to give you such a cool perspective. I mean, how have all those roles shaped you as a professional?
Yeah, thank goodness I've had all of them. I mean, I get to encounter some really amazing minds, but maybe haven't had all of those experiences. And so I feel like they're all building blocks on top of each other. And I don't think I could have gone from, 0 to here without those in between. Because, I just feel like I have a genuinely unique perspective that I can see like, well, this will work or it won't based on my experiences that I've directly gone through and that I've seen over and over again occur. So certainly it's building blocks, to get to the next place. And I like that you said, I feel like I've been in roles for long periods of time, but I guess over now what seems like a longer career, which is crazy. I've been able to have the opportunity to wear a lot of hats. And I think most recently it's because it's like, go ahead. Yes, you're getting older in your career, but still continue to challenge yourself, Heather. And that's the only way that you're going to continue to learn. And you don't want to be where you're just have mastered one thing. Go ahead and keep moving. And so I appreciate that you see that, because it is a little scary, but I think it's probably the best thing that I could have done is just, continue to grow and be challenged for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have such a unique perspective, just having so much experience in so many different parts, and even what you're doing now, and looking at the whole business from an even different side there is just amazing. And I think what I look at is, as you've gone throughout your career, all the different challenges that you've had to overcome in each different aspect of the business, and being able to really master that and learn from that and add it to your repertoire. So curious too, what are some of those biggest challenges that you've faced throughout your career, and how'd you got through them?
It's such a great question. And, I think if I'm kind of sitting down and my head in the weeds, there's challenges every single day that we're all dealing with. But I think if I kind of look up over the last 20 years and think of some of the bigger challenges that I've gone through, it probably is really when I made that launch to the next role. So maybe from an assistant manager to a manager, for example, because it's like, oh, I already know your job. I've been watching you do it for 4 years. But until you're really in that role, you don't feel the pain of what that new responsibility looks like and how you need to behave differently. Going from a community manager to a regional manager, which was probably my most favorite transition, because I felt like I was such a good tool to the managers that I was supporting. Probably the biggest one was becoming from a regional manager to a director. When you oversee regional managers, it's very different than overseeing a group of community managers. And so learning how to, communicate differently, kind of set yourself up a little bit differently, because, you can't protect them as much as you used to be able to protect and your community managers. And so, the regional managers, they're kind of in the thick of it, and they're in the center, and they're in the firing squad, if you will. And so how can you better support them when you can't really protect them from everything? Mm-hmm. So I think just shifting from, being a regional manager to a director and overseeing regional managers was certainly a big challenge. And then, of course, I have to look at what I'm doing today and just, looking at everything, behind the scenes, and how a deal is really created and how a deal gets done. And it's like, what's papered. I get how to hire a team and lease up a building, but it's, how do you really get a deal done from scratch, from dirt, and what are all the pieces and parts that go into that? That's certainly the biggest challenge that I'm absolutely very much still working through, while trying to lead a team, through that. So, I think it's really going on to the next role and then getting uncomfortable and, figuring out your way until you can get settled back in and re-confident in all, what you're doing. It's probably.
Well, it's invaluable to the organization to have all those perspectives, and kudos to you for jumping outside that comfort zone, because that is definitely not easy. Let's hop to a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll hear more from Heather.
Welcome to your beautiful new apartment home here at Gables Point 14. As you can see, we're featuring this beautiful one-bedroom den.
Meet Drew. She's a photographer living in Chicago and is currently looking for a new apartment. She's found a few places she likes, but isn't sure which one is the best fit. That's when Drew discovered RentGrata. RentGrata allowed Drew to talk to Ashley, a resident of the building she was considering. After talking to Ashley, Drew knew it was the right place for her, so she decided to move in. Today, Drew found a new home and Ashley made some referral money. But with RentGrata, it doesn't stop there. When this conversation data is combined with AI machine learning intelligence, RentGrata can provide new insights that allow property managers to get a better sense of what renters want. And that means a better renter experience for all. Welcome your residents, reach them with RentGrata.
Hello, welcome back. So Heather, all these properties you've gotten to see, be a part of, or oversee, lead, inspire. what do you see as the difference or the reasons why one property succeeds over another?
Easy. I mean, this is like the easiest question. And I think that I heard this consistently, and I'm sorry that it's kind of the same answer that you're getting over and over, but 100% it's the people. It's the people that you hire over and over again. I remember early on in my RPM career when I was like, oh, this property is really challenging. And so I think I need to take this, this team that's over here because that property seems really easy. So I'm going to switch the two and put this team at this more challenging property and flip them. Well, guess what? This one became the easy property. That one became the challenging property. And it dawned on me for the first time then it's really all about the people. And then you just see it over and over and over again. So making sure that you've got the right people, but primarily that right community manager that's, keeping everybody on point, hiring and training and motivating those on-site team members. So it really does come down to that community manager. But if you feel like something's not quite going right, you probably need to start there and look at the community manager, look at the team.
Yeah, too bad there's not a little potion in a bottle that you can just poof, open up and have the perfect team every time. Totally. It's hard to find great people.
It is. And there's a little bit of a science that goes into, making sure that you're headed in that right direction. But yes, we all need that potion.
Absolutely. I think, and I think too that in looking to find great people, it's, that great leadership that inspires people and then growth too. I think people want to grow, and like throughout your career, your companies have always continued to grow and continue to attract new people, and it allowed you to really bring on some amazing people and do some amazing things for your company. So, no, I think that's a great viewpoint that we've heard before, and I'm sure we'll continue to hear because it truly is the people that matter. Curious on just for what you're looking and focusing on right now. Like, what are those areas that you're most focused on right now?
Well, I guess. Sitting at this desk every single day, some of the big priorities and, working for the development company now, it's like, how do you get more deals done? And the reality is, how to make a deal work, you've got to get to a certain NOI, right? And so thinking about if you can't push rents any further, how are we looking at operating expenses? And so there's just a constant push. How do we get more lean without sacrificing service or, product. And so just continually trying to be creative on, how to save dollars, if you will, because we simply, can't make the deal work and can't build it and, offer housing for more people that, it's clearly a need. So that's really a constant conversation, is how to help reduce expenses. But I mean, that's just one thing, but it's certainly a big topic of conversation, around the country.
And not easy. I mean, there's things that aren't controllable expenses that you just have to eat and take on. So,
and everything seems to just be, ever increasing to find those right people, payroll is, significantly more than it was just a few years ago. Insurance costs, really a lot of things. So how do you help kind of offset that?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Okay. So let's switch gears a little bit here. And as we know, you have many talents within the multifamily industry. What's your hidden talent? Is it underwater basket weaving or cooking?
Well, this is probably like my least favorite question because I'm kind of boring. Like ask anybody that really knows me. Like I really am boring. Like I have a lot of friends that are super talented and I'm like, wow, how do I get to hang out with you? You're so cool. But I am really, I don't know. Like I try to golf, but I'm really a terrible golfer. Like I would like to say that was something that was really good. I think if anything, if I had a talent, I'm a really good mom. Like I love my kids and like, if like all of my life, I'm like, oh, this is what I was meant to do. So took me a long time to get here, but I don't know if it's a hidden talent, but I really like being a mom and I think I'm pretty good at it most of the time.
That's the best answer. That's so, I mean, my eyes tear.
So, next I want to go into our rapid fire questions here,
okay.
which is kind of a new section where we can get a quick, a little more knowledge about who Heather is just based on this rapid fire. But in anticipation of that, we're going to do a quick break and then do it on the other side. So quick break and then our rapid fire section.
Introducing Remote Lock Universal Access Control. Remote Lock lets you manage any lock from smart locks to hardwired access control systems, securing every door from the main entrance to the rooftop patio. And you get to choose from the best top-of-the-line smart locks out there, from brands like Yale, Schlage, Kwikset, August, Mercury, and many more. Now you can configure and add access at the push of a button and set up customized schedules for each and every user, all within a matter of minutes. It even works with property management and booking software like Airbnb, Guesty, Entrata, RealPage, and more. With Remote Lock, you'll finally have a future-proof solution that controls all your properties around the world from a single, easy-to-use platform. Let Remote Lock be the last access control partner you'll ever need.
All right, welcome back, everyone, and we're ready for a rapid fire here. So no thinking, just answer. So
Good.
Ready? Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Wine or beer?
Dirty martini.
Like it. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate. 100%.
Mountains or beach?
Beach. I live in Colorado. That should be mountains, but
Football or hockey?
action movies.
Fair enough. Sun or snow?
Sun.
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
And then finally, is it mental stamina or physical ability that makes me a better golfer than your husband?
I already asked him, and I played with it. I don't know.
Both, correct.
Oh, that's great. That was fun. Yeah. So Heather, and you mentioned it before with your hidden talent, being a mom. You're a wife, you're a friend, you're a mentor, you're an executive. I mean, there's a lot you do, and I think a lot of people in the industry that wear so many hats. How do you juggle it all?
And this question might make me a little emotional. I don't know why, but for a long time, I mean, I didn't have children until I was 35. And so I could really focus on my career and prioritize that. And so certainly adding little ones and to the mix, and that is a lot more. So I've never realized how much other moms, especially working moms, go through. I certainly have not mastered it. I think some advice I try to give myself on a daily basis is really, give the focus when it requires it. And then when you can kind of back down from one, try to give the attention to the other, but just try to make sure that you're circulating it as much as you can. The other piece is, and especially through, COVID and how things are just a little bit different in this world, it's really almost even making sure that you have the right relationships in your life, so that you have the people that support you in what you're doing. So can say making sure you have good friends that are good with you being okay with checking out for a couple of weeks because you've got to focus on, family or work, or have a really great boss that knows you've got, an infant and you need to run at any moment because school is closed or whatever might be happening, or a husband that really supports, your career and knows that, hey, you've got to jump back on the computer for a couple of hours on the weekend or at night. So just really, I think the biggest thing is not what I do, but maybe the people that I surround myself can help support me with, because it's certainly four many very big hats that you wear, and you just can't do it all alone.
That's well said.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, that work-life balance and being able to, just position yourself in life around great people, whether it's in work or home or family, like makes such a big difference. And I think just, your entire career of bouncing around to different aspects of the industry and understanding, I'm sure really helps you in that day-to-day of being able to facilitate that transition, even if it is from like one second to the other. So lots of respect for what you've done and what you're doing now. So another question is really just what's something that we haven't asked yet that we should have?
Oh, another one. These are all really great questions. I don't have one for that.
Fair enough.
How many times have I done my hair in a month? Today, that's it.
Right. Are you wearing sweatpants or?
Yeah, exactly.
Clothes, right?
Exactly. What's it been like being at home? Really comfortable. I was on a remote call or a video call before this, and everybody was like pinging me like, your hair looks great. And I'm like, I know. I actually thought I'd curl it today. So that's maybe something you didn't ask that you should know.
What about, Heather, through your journey, and we've heard it before from people, that how important mentors are. Who would you say has been one of your greatest mentors through your career?
Yeah, I mean, clearly I have lived and breathed Greystar, and I, committed, and I have with, Brandon Rich and Sherry Shaw for a long time, just, followed them. And, I think we did really amazing things together. And it's interesting at some point in your career and you're kind of like splitting off and you're leaving your comfort zone and your family. But certainly those are huge mentors that really took me along and helped grow. But I would say most of all, and it's not just one person through my career, is there are so many different people. And I think I'm so thankful that I grew up in the third party side of the business, because I would have many, many different clients and owners. And, you're learning so much from those asset managers and those owners. And so I feel like I was able to learn and grow so quickly because of all of the people that I was exposed to. One, because there's just not one way to do real estate. And so you're learning a lot of different ways. And then, I can think of the people that I grew the most with are probably my clients that really pushed me, that made me most uncomfortable, that were the most direct with me. I remember walking out of rooms after phone calls and I'm just bright red. And then, years later where I'm like, those are my favorite people. They challenged me, I grew, I learned, and then now I'm going to pay that forward and make sure that, the people that I'm working with are doing those same things and being pushed just as hard so that we can all grow and be successful together. But it's really that exposure, and then just making sure that you're aware and taking bits and pieces from many people that you're exposed to help grow yourself. And don't rely on just one or two people to be your mentor. Be open to, many that are around you. I mean, they could be your team members. They could be working for you. They could be your peers. I mean, it's really anyone.
Yeah, so true. And clients don't need to be a yes person to you. So they'll tell you the truth, or at least tell you truthfully how they feel, which is good. That's that challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, our final question here, which I'm sure all of you know what it's coming. It's what advice would you give to someone just starting out in the industry?
I have so many things. So call me, message me. I'll really walk you through it. But be accountable, and nothing is not your job. Really just be accountable for whatever it might be. Kind of grab it and go and run with it, show up, be consistent with how you show up every single day. And trying to think what else, if I had any other good ones, but ask for more. And I've heard that a lot from, some of the people that you've talked with. You're going to grow faster and better and when you're being exposed. And so if you have opportunities to be put in front of you, whether large or small, whether it be help with this report or go assist with this property or help train this other person, maybe you see the training needs to be done. You don't wait for somebody to ask you. So that accountability piece, but again, be a yes person, expose yourself to new ways of thinking. and ask a lot of questions. Never be afraid to ask questions, because I think sometimes we spend too long like, oh, I'm embarrassed if somebody thinks I don't know. And so, you could go forever without knowing what this acronym is or what they're talking about. Stop them, ask them, what are you, let me really understand what you're saying so that I get it and I can move on. So that was a lot, but
that was great.
Terrific. Lots of little sound bites. We forgot to say too, we heard you've got a rising star, future CU buff, in your family ranks. So.
Oh yeah. We've got many of them, but yes, for sure. At least one or two of them have got to make it.
Yeah, out of the 10, right? That's awesome. Heather, thank you so much for your time. So many great sound bites today and advice and morsels for everybody to take. So we really appreciate you.
This was great. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
You bet. And next week, we'll have Jared Miller with Red Peak on. So tune in. Thanks, everybody.